Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Antidote News. I am here with Antidote co-founder Andy. Say hello, Andy.
Hello, guys.
And we're here to discuss today the topic of quantum and the risk to Bitcoin. So, who better to discuss the quantum risk to Bitcoin than both of us who know absolutely nothing about quantum cryptography. But the gist of it is last month, Google published a paper claiming that the number of qubits needed to break Bitcoin's cryptography has dropped roughly 20-fold. Days later, there was another Nobel-winning physicist who helped build Google's quantum computers, and he told CoinDesk that Bitcoin could be amongst the first real-world targets for a cryptographically relevant quantum computer. As a result, Jefferies, the investment bank, told clients to drop Bitcoin. Bernstein, an equity research hub, called it credible but manageable. ARK came to Bitcoin's defense. So the question for today is, do we think this is an existential crisis, an engineering problem, or a distraction? Andy, what do you think?
I think it could be any of those, but like with anything, with any technology, I think there's obviously a roadmap to safety. So I guess it could be an existential crisis. I doubt it. I put sub 10% chance on that. I think probably more engineering problem / distraction. I guess, honestly, I think it's kind of like a red herring, all this FUD right now. If I was an attacker, I would probably try to push out some FUD and try to get people to move quickly to make mistakes. And I think the path here, the safest path is let the expert do their thing, get to the right solution, and then once that solution's been tried and tested, then obviously migrate. But yeah, it is scary for sure.
As ever, Bitcoin Core devs just asking for peace and quiet. Maybe we should zoom in on for people who don't understand the quantum risk, what is actually at risk here, and it's probably important to clarify that what's safe is Bitcoin mining, right? There's an absurd amount of computing power behind that. SHA-256 hashing, as it's known, is safe as far as at least we understand things. But what might not be? What is at risk? Are digital signatures. That's Schnorr in particular, but also ECDSA. These are just. I always like to not be too technical. Essentially, when you're sending and receiving Bitcoin, a quantum computer might be able to crack or work out what the private key that allows you to send that Bitcoin is behind the public key. If I've understood the quantum risk correctly, the more you transact with one private key, the more public keys you're giving away. Let's say you're using addresses, and you're being a good Bitcoiner and you're using new addresses for every transaction, that mitigates the risk somewhat. But if you're using the same address over and over, then the risk or the ability for a quantum computer to theoretically backsolve the private key goes up.
Mm-hmm. And particularly at risk are the legacy addresses, right? From the Satoshi era.
I believe so. Yes, here's us proving how quantum intelligent we are. The real I guess what's causing all this sort of social media noise is folks are saying that quantum is going to accelerate faster than people think, in the same way that kind of AI has gone exponential. That we're going to pretty quickly have a quantum computer that can crack this. But do you think that's true?
No, I don't think that's true. From the little that I know and the little I understand, rather, because I've actually tried to dig into this quite a bit, I think the kind of like theoretical software side of things is accelerating very quickly, but the actual hardware side is miles behind still, without a clear path to that being kind of like usable and in market. So I think a lot of it is people just getting hyped on the software, but you still need the hardware to get there. And again, it's not just Bitcoin. I wanted to clarify basically the entire internet infrastructure and all digital banking runs on the same algorithm.
Let's jump into that because this was something I wanted to discuss as well. I don't understand why when we talk about the risk of quantum computing breaking cryptography, everyone goes like, "Oh my God, Bitcoin!" It's like everything goes to shit. Like everything is compromised. All your credit cards, the nuclear codes, like encrypted communication between intelligence agents, like absolutely everything is cracked wide open. So at that point, are you even worrying about Bitcoin?
No, that's a good point. I actually had a chat with my normie friends about this, and when I brought that up, their response was, "Yeah, but they have billion-dollar cybersecurity budgets. Google does, all these banks do, the government does," which is true. But then I had to explain how kind of open source works and how the Bitcoin consensus all works. The devs working on that, so it's a different, I guess, defense system. But I guess once you understand how open source works and how people actually contribute to updating the code on Bitcoin, and how that can actually be even better than, you know, closed source, whatever, outsourced third party cybersecurity firm, which are black boxes. Like getting consensus on an open source project like Bitcoin, which is probably the most popular open source project in the world, that can actually be more robust than these cybersecurity billion-dollar third-party.
Yeah, and if I've understood, I've got a very surface level understanding of cybersecurity, but a lot of their recommendations tend to be to move to open source software stacks and make heavy use of like SHA-256 encryption. So it's like I think it misses the point.
Internet always wins, right?
Yeah, internet always wins, and there's and FUD and outrage and engagement bait is always going to trump like real facts. I mean, to me, if the quantum risk to society is such that we really you're talking about going back to like pen and paper and gold coins if you're paranoid about security. I have been looking into what's going on to mitigate this risk. So again, zoom out from Bitcoin and say, all right, there's an approaching risk that these quantum computers, and it's funny you said hardware and software, because like what I always find amusing is that have you seen what they look like, these quantum computers?
Yeah, it's like a room.
They look like, to me, they look like in like the 80s Superman films. The like bad guy always has his lair and he's like, yes, I have my evil computer.
It's like a gigantic.
Yeah, it's like really huge and looks very menacing. So it looks like it's here to like steal all our credit card information. There's a organization, I believe it is, that's called NIST, NIST, and they've been running a competition for cryptographers and people in the field to come up with a post-quantum algorithm. Have you read anything about this?
No.
Aha. So this was the part that got me both interested and also disinterested in the quantum argument. So there's this is a known risk. Mathematicians, engineers, software folks, cryptographers can see this on the horizon. So this body is running this competition, and I think there's like now I think it was like 4 to 6 when I last looked. It might have whittled down to fewer now, but there's a handful of algorithms essentially in the running to replace SHA-256, and they use. I'm going to be really a disclaimer here and say that this is very surface level understanding, but they use like lattice-based encryption, which is a mathematical concept such that it's much harder for a quantum computer that can be a 1 and a 0 simultaneously to actually break through this. Now, one of the side effects of this is that the data set is much larger. So if you bring it back to Bitcoin, if you've got limited block space and you're using this post-quantum algorithm to secure the network, then you can actually you can fit fewer transactions per block because an increasing amount of the block space is used up by, I hope I'm getting this right, by the encryption algorithm. So soon there will be a winner declared by this body, and then you'll have your kind of like endorsed post-quantum encryption algorithm. And as I see things, like you go from that algorithm being decided and tested, exactly as you said, like it goes slow and actually methodical. And then you've got to look at how do you, or whether you and how you bring that into Bitcoin Core. But if you listen to X, apparently they need to do that yesterday, even though we haven't discovered the algorithm or like settled on the algorithm.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of that is just the FUD and the clickbait that is unfortunately inherent with social media. I mean, we've been hearing about, like, if you're in the Bitcoin space, quantum gets brought up every few years. It's always been something on the horizon to consider. I mean, a layman's perspective, though, I just kind of thought of this. If Bitcoin mining is safe, why can't we just, use that safety?
They're different things. They're different things. So you have, I don't know, what is it, 50,000, 10,000, I'm not sure off the top of my head, computers that are, no, sorry. There are like 10, 20,000 nodes. When you look at Bitcoin mining, there are tens of thousands of computers, right? I think we hit 1 zettahash in mining power, but they're all just hashing, right? So they're all just going like, find a large prime number, find a large prime number. To put a computer on to attack that and sort of beat the computing power of that network, like a quantum computer, that is miles away. You can't do it. You just got one of them, even if it's like 5,000 qubits, which we are years away from. The risk is in what I was trying to explain earlier, as I understand things. So I send you Bitcoin, and I provide one unique public key. Right? And if I keep sending you Bitcoin and we're sending it to the same address, eventually because the maths behind it is such that if for a layperson, like a mathematician, or a present day computer to back solve what that private key is, would it take an unfeasible amount of time? So it's not worth the effort. It might take you like 1,000 years. But when a quantum computer can be a 1 and a 0 at the same time, maybe it compresses that time frame down to like a few months. So I don't think you can't just like transfer that computing power over to one public key and be like, okay, we've secured it. I don't believe that's how it would work. But I do think if you look at, there was a proposal yesterday I saw from, I think it was Jameson Lopp, which was that to get ready for a post-quantum world, we need to have a system in Bitcoin where if you didn't migrate your address or your coins to an address that is quantum secure, the network will reclaim those coins. What do you think of that proposal?
I think that kind of goes against the whole sovereignty ethos. And I guess that's a big part of the debate. But I think if there is a path that is recognized as quantum resistant and people that are actively engaged in the network and trusting Bitcoin with their life savings or a big chunk of their net worth, or using it day to day, if there's a path for them to go to safety, I think that's the biggest win, the most important win. What happens with the dead coins, the Satoshi coins, I think that's more of a philosophical thing. I tend to be like, let the free market reign. We shouldn't reclaim any coins. If an attacker gets them, like, so be it. Yeah, they might dump, Satoshi's million coins on the market and completely tank the price. But I think that's a better outcome than, like, what the whole coma argument, right? Like, what if you went into a coma 2 years ago, come out of it in 7 years, and you're like, at least I still have my Bitcoin. And, oh, no, the network reclaimed it. You don't have anything.
Yeah, Jameson Lopp decided he deserved them. I agree with you. I don't think it solves anything. And there'd be a very interesting moment where we would know whether or not Satoshi was still alive. If the quantum threat became real and you saw the coins move, it would be like,
he's somewhere.
Hello, Sailor. Yeah, no, it's not Michael Saylor. So I agree with you. I don't think it's you meddle like human political decisions in a protocol. Like the protocol is the protocol. If the users fail to migrate and the risk grows and their coins are stolen, then that is like buyer beware. It's the same with internet protocols. If you didn't migrate from HTTP to HTTPS over the last like 40 years, then you've lost. It's your fault. Boo hoo you. Okay, so maybe let's talk. We've been very quick to dismiss the quantum risk. Let's say the bear case isn't real, but what if we're wrong? What do you think we can do today to start preparing? And I'm aware there are some preparatory steps going forward. I think Blockstream spoke about a few, but what in your view should or could be happening today?
I mean, I think as with anything, the key is education. It's like trying to stay informed if you're not a cryptographer, which most of us aren't.
Yeah, I'm definitely not.
Yeah, especially these like quantum. I'm sure it's like dozens of people that are quantum literate, like not even hundreds. So I think it's beyond the scope of most people's understanding. So I think just trying to stay informed. Try not to panic. Right, panic is the worst thing you can do. And I think that's honestly another attack surface is spreading FUD that the quantum risk is here, and then scaring people to make rash decisions and move to like a unproven solution. I think that's actually the biggest threat. So I think just trying to stay informed, trying to navigate the FUD. If you're actually a quantum person and you have something to say, like please, use social media, use whatever platform you can to try to get proper information out there, because it's just like a misinformation in this case is like the attacker's dream, right? Because if there's some half-assed algorithm that now is all of a sudden you need to move to this immediately, or else your coins are lost in the next 6 months. I think that's where a lot of the attacks. Yeah, exactly. I think that's where, if I was an attacker, that's what I would do. So,
and almost certainly that is starting to happen. I wouldn't be surprised if we see some of that in like an aggressive way fairly soon. I mean, it's interesting you say that about the FUD thing, because I seeing those like announcements from Jefferies and Bernstein, like reputable equity research houses, right? And they come out with like, oh yeah, be scared. It's like, it shows you how far away still today, 17 years into Bitcoin's existence, like Wall Street's understanding of anything relating to Bitcoin really is. Yeah. I mean, we praise when every now and then, and it does happen, like every now and then some analyst inside an investment bank gets orange pilled and writes like an equity research paper that's like, this is great. And, it's like actually well thought through. But for every one of those you get these like, this won't work. And I remember in the like ICO era, it was, you used to have these tables in the equity research reports of like Bitcoin, and then it would be like Ethereum, and then even back then because no one knew anything, it was also like comparing it to, I don't know, like Cardano and stuff like that, and it was all just like
Litecoin.
Litecoin, yeah. Does it have smart contracts? Tick, cross. Does it have? Can it do like virtual machines? Tick, cross. And it was like, what about the? Is it money? It's like not in there. So. Yeah, the investment banks participating in the FUD to investors in an era when we've got like mainstream ETFs and stuff, I think is also a bit foolhardy.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, you and I both worked in these big Wall Street firms at the start of our careers, and I think a lot of people would be shocked to know that most of those reports are written by like a 24-year-old overworked, underslept, poor analyst that just, their job is basically like get the report out on time. Like what are the other firms saying?
Yeah.
Try not to be
Is it a buy or is it a sell?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. I'm just finishing my sandwich. Sell?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I don't like this today. I'm going to say it's a sell.
Exactly. I wouldn't put too much stock in those things, to be honest. Especially given like a lot of the Wall Street, like the incentive, right? They're going to be anti-Bitcoin for a long time until they aren't, right? You saw Morgan Stanley. They recently announced they're advising clients. They're launching like some ETF product, if I'm not mistaken. So I think the dominoes are slowly falling there. But yeah, I wouldn't. Equity research, I don't know.
the quantum risk is the quantum risk is real, but you can buy our Morgan Stanley ETF. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, and still, I mean, just for people who are listening, you're still able to own a UTXO. That's not going to be forever. So I don't really pay much attention to ETFs and treasury companies either. All right, so I think we've probably expressed a healthy skepticism on the quantum front, and folks should take solace in that, because I think there's broad consensus amongst Bitcoin that this is really being blown out of proportion. But maybe just to close on a question, if 5 years from now, 2031, will this be remembered as the year that we started to get things wrong in timelines and understanding like exponential timelines, or do you believe that Bitcoin will remain incredibly slow and methodical, and that's its core strength?
I think the latter, to be honest. AI has been around for a long time. It's only been kind of in the public sphere when the ChatGPT moment happened in 2023, but for decades before that, it's been like, I remember you did a really cool report in like maybe 10 years ago, right?
Yeah.
So it's not a new thing. The quantum thing is not a new thing. So I don't know if this year is any more relevant than the last 5 years. But yeah, I think we just keep doing what we're doing, move slow, deliberately slow. As Odell likes to say, Bitcoin's very hard to change by design, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that's one of the core strengths. So keep paying attention. Obviously, don't brush it off as nothing, but don't do anything rash. And I think I have faith that our developers will get there. It's in everyone's interest to get there, right? Nobody wants, unless you're an attacker, nobody wants the whole internet cryptography to collapse under quantum. So keep listening, keep an eye out for what the experts are saying, and try to ignore the FUD as hard as it is.
Yeah, I'd agree. Don't get your Bitcoin news from X.
Exactly.
There are great mailing lists like Bitcoin Optech that you can go and read, like what the core devs are really saying. You can hear the facts on the ground. Do not panic. The less that Bitcoin changes, the harder the case that it is just money cements. And the goal is a peer-to-peer distributed internet money for all of us all over the world that no one can mess with. And I never lose sight of that. But for some reason, that goal that will better all of our lives, that really freaks some people out, and they decide that they've got to scare you all away from it. But maybe those people should take a minute to realize it makes their lives better as well.
Yes, agreed.
All right. Well, next time I think we might need to discuss a real bug in Bitcoin that no one likes to talk about, and that is I think it's the lock time bug. Anyway, Bitcoin's clock is off, and at some point we will need a genuine hard fork to fix this bug. And the response is always, well, that bug won't show up for 100 years, so why fix it now? But what's the purchasing power of a Bitcoin in 100 years, and how contentious is a hard fork? So we'll use that for another time. In the meantime, thanks everyone for listening. This was another weekly episode of Antidote News. A reminder that applications for Cohort 2 are now open, and you can apply at antidotebtc.com. And final reminder that we have a very exciting live gig happening in London at the Old Blue Last in Shoreditch on the 30th of April in partnership with Fountain. We've got 5 bands. Those artists are going to be paid fairly using Fountain and the Value for Value ecosystem's magnificent technology. Do come along. You can find out more information about that on the Antidote's events page, also on our website at antidotebtc.com.
Yes, don't miss that one. It's going to be great.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone, and goodbye.
Thank you.